The cruel life of a dog and his master.
He didn't feel comfortable boarding his dog elsewhere. He took Happy and continued to walk through the mountains. Passing a camping park, Frank pulls in. He drove through the woods until there was no road ahead. Looking at the bottom of the gas tank, Frank drove the car into the bushes. Not too far away, the car stopped. Frank threw away the keys. This became the end of the line for them. Then he took Happy to a camping site. Thirsty and hungry, they could only look at the tourists grilling meat. Luckily, with a keen sense of smell, he found a bag of leftover food in the garbage. So Frank used the iron pot and leftover rice to make a simple dinner. But it was a hearty meal for them. Soon autumn came. The camping area had a slow season. Without a car, they couldn't go far. Only lonely companionship and wandering. Without a source of food, they could only collect some wild fruits to feed their hunger. But even with all this suffering, life still wouldn't let them go. Frank's condition became more and more serious. Without the support of drugs, only pain and suffering awaited him. Happy seemed to feel the pain and kept screaming. Frank could only gently touch him and say he was fine. His mind was drawn back to many years ago. That day he came home from work and found a strange basket on his desk. When he opened it, there was a cute little dog. He was shocked. At that time, he was still afraid of dogs, but his wife and daughter liked it very much. Especially his daughter had sewn a doll with Happy's name on it. Let him put it in the car as a pendant. Frank had no choice but to accept it. He even made a doghouse for Happy himself. Every day after dinner, the family would take Happy for a walk along the river. But as he grew up day by day, Happy is no longer the same as when she was a child. The daughter also gradually began to dislike her. Every day, only she would take her for a walk. It was winter and it was snowing in the mountains. Frank and Happy sat in front of the fire. She looked carefully at the documents in her hand. Then she threw it into the fire. It was the only document that could prove his identity. As the fire turned to ashes, the last glimmer of hope also collapsed. Looking at the raffle tickets blown away by the wind, Frank was once again plunged into memories. In his middle age, he was fired from his job. His wife began to despise him. Even his daughter had become a rebel, going out to play in the middle of the night. Then she doesn't come home all night. The new year was approaching. He wrote on his greeting card that he wanted to start a new year with a fresh start and hope to become better. However, the reality was not like that. On his way to find a job, he suddenly felt unwell. He went to the hospital and had a heart attack. This was definitely an additional blow. A series of mental shocks made Frank confused about the future. He sat by the river and was very sad. Happy found a raffle ticket from somewhere. When Frank did not have any hope in the afterlife, perhaps God was kind to him. Let him win a first prize, a free 3-day trip for the whole family. He was so happy at that moment. He was ready to surprise his wife and daughter. But what he got was a divorce agreement. Finally, his wife wanted to divorce him. He held the lottery ticket, sadly, without saying anything. His wife said, "It's not that I don't love you anymore. It's that my feelings for you are no longer enough to keep us going." Frank wanted to say he was terminally ill, but in the face of his wife's firm attitude, he didn't say another word. His wife took their daughter and left. Frank was left with only Happy. What started out as a family trip, now it was one man and one dog. Frank woke up from his memories. Cold and sickness surrounded him. He knew he wouldn't make it through the night. He shakily pushed open the car door and let Happy go. The car was piled high with dirty food, all of which Happy had fought so hard to get for him every day. Facing imminent death, Frank had never felt so scared. He curled up in his seat and cried out. Happy was watching from a distance. He couldn't understand what was happening.